CNN, 28th of March 2024, after over 3 heartbreaking years, China relaxes its restrictions on Australian wine. More than 3 years after enacting sanctions that crippled the industry and caused significant strain between the trading partners, China has announced it is eliminating the punitive tariffs on Australian wines. On Thursday, the Chinese Ministry of Commerce declared it was no longer necessary to impose anti-dumping duties and countervailing duties on imported wines originating from Australia due to changes in the wine market conditions in China. The act would take effect on Friday, 2 days before the conclusion of a 5-month review period that Beijing and Canberra had agreed upon, during which Australia suspended a dispute over the matter at the World Trade Organization. With this ruling, the Australian market, China, once valued at over $1 billion $653 million, will no longer be subject to taxes as high as 218% on wine exports. The Australian government hailed Beijing's which come at a critical time for the Australian wine industry. According to the statement, Australian wine producers cannot profitably export bottled wine to China due to taxes imposed on Australian wine since 2020. We thank Australian wine producers and grape growers for their unwavering support and fortitude during this trying time. The wine taxes were one of many trade restrictions Beijing imposed on important Australian exports as payback for political grievances beginning in 2020. Their removal coincides with the thawing of relations between China and Australia. Chinese officials have been gradually removing several barriers, including those pertaining to coal, barley, and lumber. Winemakers celebrate their choice. The nation's severely damaged wineries, who have been struggling with oversupply in addition to declining worldwide demand and years of significant revenue losses from China, welcomed Beijing's move. Bruce Tyrrell, managing director of Tyrrell's Wines in New South Wales, told CNN that many people in the Australian wine industry will be reaching out for a good glass of wine tonight and feeling a whole lot happier about their future. Although we don't know what the Chinese market will look like after the COVID-19 pandemic, he added that access to it is still far better than nothing. The loss of China over these last 3 years has caused a fair bit of damage to the industry and brought uncertainty. China's Ministry of Commerce first imposed tariffs of up to 212% in November 2020. The following March, a final decision established 5-year anti-dumping and countervailing duties ranging from 116% to 218%. According to the national industry group Wine Australia, the crucial Australian industry suffered greatly due to the wine duties, with sales to China falling 97% in 2021 compared to the previous year at a loss of about $1 billion Australian dollars in value and 90 million litres in volume. The value of global exports fell by 30% at that time as well. According to Wine Australia, the amount of wine produced annually in 2022 to 2023 fell to its lowest level in over 15 years. The same year, the US and the UK emerged as the nation's lucrative export destinations. According to Lee McLean, head of Australian Grape and Wine, a national grape and wine producer association, industry associations collaborated with the Australian government to ensure a coordinated re-entry into the market. McLean stated that we anticipate reviving our relationship with customers and business partners in that market and seeing Australian wines back on Chinese dining tables. But we'll continue to concentrate on expanding our export market and boosting domestic demand in Australia, he continued. Diplomatic thaw. Amid a deteriorating bilateral relationship over foreign investment matters and national security, China implemented wine tariffs and other trade restrictions. This worsened in 2020 after Canberra called for an international investigation into the causes of the COVID-19 pandemic in China. Although its Commerce Ministry has claimed anti-dumping and other reasons for the array of measures, China's Foreign Ministry has blamed Australia for the trade troubles, accusing it of violating the basic norms governing international relations in 2020. After Anthony Albanese's government was elected in May 2022, relations started to improve, but the wine tariffs remained a cause of contention. According to a statement released by China's Foreign Ministry on Thursday, the two nations have properly expressed each other through dialogue and negotiations and jointly pushed for the momentum for improvement in bilateral relations. This has been the case for some time. Beijing decided amid severe economic difficulties and a desire to fortify its ties with important trading partners, including Australia and Europe. It also comes after intensive diplomatic efforts to mend fences between the two countries, completed by Albanese's November visit to China, the first by an Australian leader in 7 years. This month, Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi traveled to Australia for the first time as China's met during that time. During the visit, Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong brought up persistent issues between the two countries, such as Yang Hangjin, an Australian citizen imprisoned in China since 2019, who was sentenced to death last month. Wong added that she emphasized Canberra's wish to see the last restrictions on beef and lobster lifted.